Are we gonna have a picture? Come on then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, who's that? Who's that? Is that Daddy and Eleanor? Are you gonna say cheese? Oh. Oh. Where are you going? Yeah, there's Daddy. Yeah, Daddy's taking a picture. Yeah. Cheese.
Daddy. Daddy. Daddy.
This is why I do it when you're out or asleep.
Me.
Yeah. All right.
Me.
Okay. I think we'll leave it at that. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andrew Stott. I'm the Emperor of Stomaria, and today I want to talk about micronational superpowers. So I've been involved in the micronational community for over 3 years now, and in that time I've often seen the term micronational superpower being bandied about by one micronation or micronationalist or another, and in almost all instances that I've come across this, it is a self-description. They describe themselves as a micronational superpower. Very rarely do I see that term being applied to other micronations, and whenever I do see that term being applied to other micronations, that micronation does not define itself as a micronational superpower. And this is something I always try to sort of get my head around a little bit, because I understand why this term is used by some people. It's, a way of trying to aggrandize themselves. They're not just a micronation, they are a superpower. They are a beacon within the community in which all light must shine. But the kinds of people that typically use this terminology are probably as far from being a micronational superpower as you can get. But the point stands that I'm not really sure how you would define it. And I think that is the premise of this video, is that I wanted to ask the question, what is a micronational superpower to you? Is it based on population? Is it based on the size of its treasury, the amount of land it has, how well it is known on social media, how well it's known in traditional media, how long it's been around for, its longevity? What defines a micronational superpower? Because the superpower in the traditional sense, you might have Russia or the United States or China, is, I haven't actually looked up the definition of what this is, a superpower is, but I think I can broadly say with some confidence that a superpower is a nation that has a sizable population, a sizable industrial capacity, a lot of wealth, and a large military. And I don't think there's much more to it than that, in the sense that if, Luxembourg or Belgium, started to try throwing their weight around, trying to get France or Germany or whoever else around the world to adhere to their way of life, or, they want to promote certain policies or values, then they would probably get ignored. Whereas, if China says we're going to do X, Y, and Z, the rest of the world listens, because what they do has an impact on a large percentage of the population of the world, in particular the Western world, I suppose. But as I say, because they, like the nations I mentioned, their military capacity, their ability to impose economic sanctions or make life difficult for other nations because of the sheer industrial capacity that they have, the population size, I don't know if that would directly correlate to what would constitute a superpower in general, but it is definitely very consistent, I think. I mean, if you think of superpowers as being things like India and Russia and America and China and all the rest of it, they have very large populations. Excuse me. But the point stands. I think that is as a broad stroke what you would class as a superpower, a nation that's able to throw its weight around, that has influence over others purely because of its, as I say, population, military might, industrial capacity, and all the rest. But in micronational terms, that doesn't really exist, because micronations are based on voluntary association. So just because I might have a population of 1,000, that doesn't mean that, first of all of those people are contributing to my micronation. I mean, they would if they were Stomarian citizens, but because the way that micronations operate, they class citizenship differently. So some will claim YouTube subscribers or Facebook followers as citizens. Some will claim entire towns and cities as citizens. Some will, like us, go through Patreon, in which case there is genuine value added to the project through that. And others, you just have to submit an email or fill in an online application form, and you become a citizen that way. So, just because a micronation might have 20, 30, 50, 100,000 citizens because they filled in an online application form 6 years ago and haven't looked at it since, that doesn't give that micronation any more power or sway over anyone else. I mean, the micronation that comes to mind in terms of population count, I think would be Ladonia. I think they had, what have they got, 25, 30,000 citizens, something like that, because it's an online process. It's you can do it for free if you want to become a lord or lady or something to that effect. I think you do have to pay, I don't remember what it is now, up to $80, I think it is. But to become a citizen, you just sign up online, and does that give it more control or influence or power over other micronations? I don't think it does. I mean, it certainly doesn't have any impact on us or anyone that I know. Just because they have X amount of citizens, active or otherwise, doesn't have any impact on what we're doing. They can't, intimidate us or use coercion, not that they would or have any interest in doing so, but the point stands. A population count or citizen count, the number of citizens a micronation has, isn't really a thing. It doesn't sort of, pull any more weight than any other micronation claiming however many other citizens. Some citizens, as I say, going down particular routes, do add more value to that micronation, to that community, to that project, but that in itself isn't a way of being able to throw your weight around. If, as I say, Stomaria had 1,000 citizens, it wouldn't make us any more able, even if we wanted to throw our weight around, in the sense that we could force other micronations outside of Stomaria to do what we wanted them to do, because it doesn't work like that, because there is a voluntarism to that. If someone doesn't want to do something, then they don't. So there's that aspect of it. Now, in terms of military might, I have my own views on this, and I have aired them before, but I think micronational militaries are, a waste of time, energy, and resources. Certainly, it's the case that we ourselves have the Imperial Guard, which is an institution, a body, which is supposed to act as stewards for public events. You know, we have the uniforms, we have the sabers, and we even have air rifles for sort of target practice and that sort of thing. But it's not like a standing army that's used to, you know, intimidate or threaten anyone, because you know, putting everything else aside, we are a micronation, which means that if we did do that, if we tried to intimidate someone through force, through military action or whatever else, then the you know, very very simple thing will happen. They'll call the police, will be arrested and charged and prosecuted. You know, it's as simple as that. You can't threaten someone with violence. You can't intimidate someone, use coercion using violent or threatening means. So again, that's not really a thing. I mean, my micronation might claim to have, you know, an abundance of soldiers and advanced weaponry and all the rest of it, and threaten to come to your home and attack you or whatever else. But the reality is they never would, and if they did, then they would just be arrested by the local police force. It would be as simple as that, really. I mean, we've had no shortage of people threatening to attack us. My favourite being the threat of someone coming over, funnily enough, themselves and 10 other micronational superpowers with advanced weaponry, including mini tanks and a potato launcher, and they threatened to attack us. Obviously didn't happen, because, you know, the people that make those sorts of declarations are normally kids, and, you know, trying to convince their mums to actually come and do that sort of thing to someone else is probably not going to go down very well. They'll probably end up being grounded, sent to their room without dinner, all the rest of it. So yeah, so military strength in the micronational community is not a thing. So where does that leave us? Well, what about the economic side of things? What about the size of the treasury? What about the trade network that you might establish? Now, the thing is, there are exceptionally few micronations that are actually engaging with one another through barter or using some other medium of exchange. The micronations that do that are so few and far between that it really doesn't have any real impact, in the sense that if I you know, placed an economic embargo on the Kingdom of Lithua, because they are one of our trade partners, then it wouldn't really have any impact on them whatsoever. I mean, we buy, for instance, you know, we bought wines and salmons using the silver Stomarian stater coin. And if we said, if you don't do this, then we're not going to do that anymore, they'll just kind of shrug their shoulders and go, okay, we'll just sell it to someone else. You know, it's not going to have a massive impact on their daily lives. It's not going to be enough to force them down a particular route, even if we wanted to. You know, that's obviously not our aim or objective. It's just the most obvious example I can think of, because we're the only micronation, or the micronations involved in Stomaria, allied with Stomaria, are the only micronations that I know of that do engage in this kind of activity, this you know, this trade network between micronations. And so I think the idea of an economic embargo or threatening sanctions or something to that effect, I just don't think it's a thing. I don't think you can pull it off, because it won't have any material impact on them or their lives. You know, as I say, if China said they weren't going to sell particular products to the rest of the world, then it would have an impact and people would pay attention, because, you know, we buy a lot of things that are made in China or produced in China. So that's a genuine, real impact. But Stomaria has a very small pool of trading partners, and those trade partners, if they decided that they didn't want to engage in trade or commerce with Stomaria anymore, it wouldn't really have a massive material impact on their well-being. They could still function as micronations and wouldn't you know, impact them too greatly. Now, it is my hope going forward that we are able to establish a trade network between micronations which reduces reliance on contributions to the macronations that we're a part of, and that will eventually require larger scale transactions. But it wouldn't be anything that could quite easily be reversed. I mean, if we, you know, as I say, traded, we grew potatoes and Lithua was supplied with potatoes exclusively from Stomaria, but then we said, we're not trading potatoes anymore with you, they'll just go, okay, well, let's buy it from the shop. You see what I mean? I mean, economic embargoes don't work or can't work because there's a vast amount of options out there for acquiring the goods and services that you might want or need if you can't get it from another micronation. So we've covered, population size, we've covered military strength, we've covered, the economy, the treasury, if you like, aspect of it. And I just can't think of what else you would use in order to throw that weight around. I suppose notoriety, to being well known. I mean, if Kevin Barr from Molossia said something, more people would probably hear about it, more people would pay attention, but would it impact a micronation's standing or their development or their choices? I don't think it would. I mean, if Kevin Bard said, we're no longer using cookie dough as currency, we're now using, some other good or commodity as a form of currency, do I think that micronations that hear about this are going to rush to adopt that themselves? Because I don't think they would. I don't understand the idea that just because a micronation, as well known as it might be, says or does something, doesn't mean that other micronations or micronationalists are inclined or even interested in following what they are doing lockstep. Because, I mean, we're not. I mean, I'd like to think of Stomaria as quite a successful micronation in its own right, and we have virtually no interaction or particular interest in some of the more traditionally well-known micronations of the world. I'm not particularly interested in, Ladonia or Molossia or formerly Hutt River or Atlantium or, whoever else is out there that other people might have heard of. There's nothing against them, but I just don't think they're trying to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. There's not a lot for us to learn from them. There's not a lot to gain from affiliation or association with them, because what we're trying to do is establish, genuine real world communities, utilizing the silver Stomarian data as a medium of exchange in order to create an inter-micronational trade network, reducing reliance on and contributions to the macronations that we're a part of, and promoting the individual cultural identities of those micronations that form the Empire of Stomaria. Now, Ladonia is, for all intents and purposes, an art project. Molossia, for all intents and purposes, is, not particularly interested in what we would have going on here. They have their own quirky aspects to them, which make them quite an interesting and fun micronation. But that's not really what we're looking to do. We're not looking to do this for the lols or anything like that. And then you have, I'm not going to sort of rag on every major mainstream micronation that I can think of, but the point stands that they're not all gunning for the same thing, and certainly not gunning for the same thing that we are. So what they say and do doesn't have any influence on us, and I'm sure what I say and do doesn't have any influence on them. Now, just to, because we went on a few tangents there, just to bring it back to the basic question, what is a micronational superpower? I think it really just stems from the fact that people who use the term micronational superpower usually use it to define themselves. So you'll have, this all. There'll be a micronation that's been around for 2 weeks, claims a population of 5,000, claims a landmass of 500 square kilometers, and said they're the most advanced, successful micronation in X and Y area. Never before seen has there been such a successful micronation in Devon or Michigan or the south of France or whatever else. and they have all of these provinces and territories and other micronations that no one's ever heard of. They've all joined their ranks with very suspiciously similar flags to one another. But you know the sorts. These people go out there and they're, I am a micronational superpower. And they'll go on about this for about 2 weeks before they dissolve, disintegrate, or just stop posting or contributing to social media, which is typically where these sorts of micronations are born and where they die in quick succession. Now, the only other time I can think where micronational superpower, the term micronational superpower is applied, is when people try to define better known micronations that might tick the boxes that I said in terms of large citizen counts, in terms of notoriety in traditional media, in terms of their I don't know, less economic capacity, I suppose. You might have Sealand or Liberland in there, I guess. But I think the thing is that even though that other people might apply the term micronational superpower to these micronations, those micronations, as far as I know, have never defined themselves as a micronational superpower, because it's just a little bit cringy, I guess. I mean, and so, you know, I'm not shy about promoting Stomaria. I'm very proud of the achievements and accomplishments that we've had, but I've never defined Stomaria as a micronational superpower in the sense that I thought that such a terminology was going to aggrandize us or impress anyone, because I don't think it would. I think it's a bit cringy to suggest as much, because even though we have you know, a relatively well recorded and well recorded history that, you know, has a lot of progress, we've made a lot of strides, a lot of micronations out there do try to emulate us. They do try to use us as a benchmark to some degree or another for establishing more serious micronations, which is great. But, you know, I would be wrong to suggest that this would make the Empire of Stomaria a superpower. You know, we have more of a reach than most micronations. More micronations know about us than we know about them. It's just the way it is. Once you get to a certain point in a micronation's development, or your micronation's development, you know, it'll get to a point where a lot of people will know a lot about you, but you won't know a lot about other people. As opposed to two micronations not knowing much about each other. You know, we have a website, we have an extensive history on our Facebook page, and then we've also joined Twitter and Discord and Reddit, and obviously our YouTube channel has become very popular in the last year or so, and we have a lot of videos on there going over what we've done and what we stand for, and you know, the how to make a micronation series and all the rest of it. So a lot of people know about Stomaria, but we don't know a lot about other micronations. And I don't know if you would even class that as a category for micronational superpower ship. But for those who did join, did click on this video thinking that I was going to go over why Stomaria was a micronational superpower, or if maybe they clicked it thinking, oh, I hope they mention me as a micronational superpower. The truth is, I'm not, because I'm not really sure what you would even define as a micronational superpower, and I don't think any micronation worth its salt genuinely describes themselves as such, because there is no influence or control or intimidation or coercion or you know, ability to influence others in a meaningful and impactful way. Because of the nature of what a micronation is, because of the voluntary nation, the voluntarism that comes with it. So yeah, I think that's, well, it's a very long-winded video, longer than I needed to make it, really. But I suppose the last thing I'd say is, you know, what are your thoughts? What do you define as a micronational superpower? And what micronations fit that definition in your opinion? I would be curious to hear people's opinions on that. Purely because I'm at a loss personally, because of everything I've just gone through, as to, you know, how you would apply that terminology. But yes, rambled long enough. So if you did enjoy this video and you wanted to become a part of the Stomarian community to help it become a micronational superpower, then please feel free to do so through our Patreon campaign, the link of which I shall leave in the description below as always. But otherwise, if you did enjoy the video, then please feel free to give it a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.